Hi everyone, I'm WBRE 28, WYOU 22 Eyewitness News Chief Meteorologist Josh Odell, along with Logan Westrope and Sammy Squires. Finally, spring and summer, a time to get out and enjoy the weather, right?
Yeah, but it's also the time when the weather can turn dangerous pretty quickly.
Do you know what to do in a tornado or even a lightning storm?
We have a lot of information to share with you to keep you safe through spring and summer in your Severe Weather Handbook.
Eyewitness Weather presents a special report on staying safe this summer in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. This is your Severe Weather Handbook, featuring Josh Odell and the Eyewitness Weather team.
And we begin by putting things into perspective and taking a look back at recent history. How weather can impact our lives quickly and sometimes with little warning. Case in point, the night of June 13th in Luzerne County when a tornado hit Wilkes-Barre Township. WBRE 28, WYOU 22 Eyewitness News reporter Nicole Rogers takes a look back.
Cover your head.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Brian's bleeding.
Are you okay, Brian?
June 13th, 2018.
And the glass just started breaking in, and it honestly just looked like the worst horror movie you've ever seen. We were all just kind of getting hit by rocks and whatever else was flying through there.
This was the scene when an EF2 tornado ripped through Wilkes-Barre Township.
Walking around bleeding up, everyone was looking at us like we were zombies. Like it was really crazy.
Brian Hardiman was hiding behind a shoe rack as the storm targeted several businesses in the area.
You really don't know, like a different situation like 25 seconds earlier when like the 3 or 4 of us that were standing up by the front door, if it could have happened then, what really would have happened.
We got a call from the National Weather Service giving us a little heads up that unfortunately it was heading to our area, and I just have to tell you that you just feel helpless because, you know, there's, you know, the warnings are out there, but what could you really do? And not everybody heeds the warnings, unfortunately. So from 10 o'clock, I believe it was, till 2 in the morning, we weren't sure what we really had.
Luzerne County Emergency Management Agency Director Lucy Morgan remembers it like it was yesterday.
People don't realize, like, you think the tornado's gone and it's over. That's when it just begins for us.
The storm brought statewide attention to Luzerne County.
2 things that we really need to be thankful for. The first is that so few people were hurt, and that the 6 people who were hurt, the injuries were really minor, and that is a miracle.
I've been working in the Weather Service 27 years, mostly in New York and Pennsylvania, and I've never seen damage like this before.
Behind us is the old location of Ashley Home Store in Country Junction.
Nearly 3 years later, I spoke with the vice president of Country Junction, one of the stores hit hard by the tornado.
I got a phone call from the manager of the store at the time, and he said our store just got destroyed by a tornado.
He went to see the damage the next day.
The thing about a tornado is it just strikes on a path. So driving up, you know, we're like, it's a sunny day and nothing really looks bad. And, you know, this is the day after the tornado, obviously. And as soon as we came to the intersection here and made the turn, we just saw the devastation.
15 minutes of severe weather and devastation still evident years later. For the Severe Weather Handbook, Nicole Rogers, 2822 Eyewitness News.
It seems like we've been talking about tornadoes more and more over the last couple of years, moving across central and eastern Pennsylvania. So let's break it down for you. Let's show you how one develops. And they get started with a pretty simple concept, and that concept is what we call wind shear. Wind shear is when you have a change in the wind speed and direction between the surface and upstairs in the atmosphere. Closer to the ground, it's blowing in one direction. Higher up, it's coming from a different direction. And in this process, in the middle of it, you end up with this horizontal rotating column of air. Think about it almost like the inside of a paper towel roll. And then the third component to all of this is a strong, intense thunderstorm updraft. And that updraft will take this horizontal column, make it vertical, and when it touches the ground, that's when you end up with a tornado. Typically around here, they don't stay on the ground very long, but they can cause a lot of damage. For more on our Severe Weather Handbook, make sure you visit pahomepage.com. And coming up, When there is severe weather on the way, what should you do? Where do you go? Where is your safe place? We'll give you some hints. And we're going to showcase our technology in this weather center, all designed to keep you informed and safe.
You're watching an Eyewitness Weather Special, the Severe Weather Handbook.
When severe weather hits, you need to know quickly what to do to stay safe. If you are in a car, your home, you need to find your safe place. WBRE 28, WYOU 22 Eyewitness Weather's Sammy Squires has some advice about what you should do.
Josh, it's good to have a plan for you and your family in the case of a severe weather event. Here are some steps to keep in mind if a tornado is approaching.
If there's a tornado warning issued in your county, the Eyewitness Weather Team will keep you informed on what to do in that particular dangerous situation. But there are some things you should do to prepare ahead of time, before disaster strikes. The first part about tornado safety is making sure all members of your family know where to go and what to do when a warning is imminent. And if time allows, do not forget about your pets. Always head to the basement. However, if you live in a home without a basement or storm cellar,
pick a safe place in your home, preferably an interior room with no windows on the lowest floor.
Maybe you live in a mobile home or an apartment. It's best to exit and head to a nearby sturdy building on a good foundation. If you're outdoors during the warning, sheds and storage facilities are not safe. A good suggestion is to head to a nearby bathroom. You could lie down in a tub and protect your head. When driving, if you have enough time, the best course of action is to drive to a shelter. If you are unable to make it to a safe building in time, it's best to leave your car and seek shelter in a low-lying area such as a ditch. If you are caught in extreme winds or in close proximity to a tornado, you should stay in the car with your seatbelt fastened. Put your head down below the windows. If possible, grab something nearby to put over your head, such as a coat or a blanket. Or simply just use your hands. Stay in this position until the warning or threat has passed. Under an overpass is not a safe place, as it can enhance wind and collect debris. When at work or another establishment, it's best to go into a hallway away from windows or under a desk.
You want to stay away from auditoriums or cafeterias and even large open rooms such as this one.
It may feel silly, but if accessible, you could grab a bike or ski helmet to protect your head or large cushions to cover yourself. The Eyewitness Weather Team will always be there to alert you and remind you of what to do.
Here in the Eyewitness Weather Center, we have the latest technology, top-notch technology, all designed to track storms in real time and keep you safe. I'm going to take you back to May of 2018 when we had a tornado track across parts of northeastern Pennsylvania. This is the infamous Hook Echo. You can see it right here near Tunkhannock, and this eventually moved across parts of Lackawanna County, so our radar can see that. But we can also check out the wind that's inside a thunderstorm as well. You see the green, that's going in one direction, the red in another. Back to back, that's where you have the potential rotation within that storm. Tells us there could be a tornado there. We also have different computer algorithms that sort through the rain and the hail and the wind. And as you look at this, you'll see almost smack dab in the middle of your television screen, the white, the black, the pink, the purple, the red. There's a lot going on there. That's indicating some wind shear along with the opportunity for some hail. In fact, some intense hail associated with that. This is the path of the hail as that storm rolled across Bradford and Wyoming counties. Again, this is all back in May of 2018. And last but not certainly least is what we call the correlation coefficient. And this is where the radar can actually see something other than raindrops. Perhaps debris, tree limbs, and tree branches, and that shows up especially well whenever you get a strong wind gust from either an intense thunderstorm or there's a tornado on the ground. Again, we use this technology to help keep you and your family safe. And of course, you can always download the Eyewitness Weather app, so when severe weather alerts are issued, watches and warnings, they come right to you, no matter where you are. And now we've been through this before. It's sunny, it's nice outside, we're enjoying the day, and then you hear it. You hear the rumble of thunder. What goes into creating lightning and thunder inside a thunderstorm? Well, here's meteorologist Logan Westrope with an explanation.
Let's talk about the formation of a lightning strike and also how we get thunder created during a thunderstorm. Now, it all starts with the basics. We need the sunlight that heats the surface of the ground, that eventually warms it. We get those warm air parcels to rise, and as they rise, they will cool and condense into what we get as clouds, and eventually those clouds turn into thunderstorms. Now, inside the clouds, though, we have ice particles, also some raindrops. Those are colliding together, bouncing around together, and eventually that creates some static electricity. So kind of take it for an example, if we have socks on, if we're rubbing our feet along the carpet, we get that static electricity to build up. Also, the same thing goes as if we have a hat on in the wintertime, very dry air, we take it off and our hair kind of goes crazy. That's the same example that we see oftentimes on a larger scale here with a thunderstorm. So we get those collisions within those positive and negative charges, and eventually those will start to separate. So usually at the bottom of the cloud, though, we have more of that negative charge, and then at the top of the cloud is where we have that positive charge. Usually here at the surface is where we have a positive charge as well. So if we have static electricity built up in us, we go to touch something, obviously it has to transfer. So the same thing goes on essentially in the cloud, but it's on a larger scale. So we get that negative charge to go to the positive charge at the top of the cloud. Also, the same thing goes for the bottom of the cloud to the surface of the ground. So that's oftentimes when we hear cloud-to-cloud lightning and also cloud-to-ground lightning in these situations. But we have to remember that lightning is extremely hot. Lightning is 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. The surface of the sun is around 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. An average lightning strike is around 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So very, very hot. And when we heat the air that quickly, when we get a lightning strike, obviously it will explode and expand. And that is the sound of thunder. Now, we have to remember that light travels faster than sound. So we oftentimes will get that lightning strike and then a few seconds later hear that rumble of thunder. So that's why we always say when thunder roars, head indoors, because if you're close enough to hear that rumble of thunder, you're also close enough to get struck by lightning.
Some people love a thunderstorm, others have a healthy fear of the power, whichever category you fall into. It is interesting to learn just how these storms are created and how long they last, and what to do if you are caught in a storm. We will get into the science of it when this edition of the Severe Weather Handbook returns right after this.
You're watching an Eyewitness Weather Special, the Severe Weather Handbook.
We're turning up the heat and humidity these days, and that can increase our chances for storms and lightning. Lightning strikes about 26 million times a year in the United States. 2822 Eyewitness News meteorologist Logan Westrope has more.
Hey, thanks, Josh. While lightning may be intriguing to watch, the important thing to remember in a storm is to use common sense.
When thunder roars, go indoors.
It's a common phrase National Weather Service meteorologist John Banghoff reminds people this time of year. As thunderstorms near your home, so does the threat of lightning striking the ground. Even if the storm may seem far enough away, it's a risk you don't want to take.
Another rule of thumb that we tend to use is you need to stay inside 30 minutes after you hear the last rumble of thunder, because that's going to basically allow the storm to clear out and ensure that you are safe to return to your outdoor activities.
Southern states like Florida tend to have the highest amount of lightning strikes per year, but how exactly does the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania compare?
Across the Central Mountains, there's a little bit fewer lightning strikes, but as you head farther east, as you head up towards Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and even down southeast towards Philadelphia, that's where you get a little bit higher likelihood of lightning.
Let's say you happen to be outdoors as a thunderstorm approaches, remembering that taller objects tend to get struck first. In that case, get to the lowest area or ground level. Never hide under an isolated tree. Stay away from cliffs, rocky overhangs, fences, and windmills, and never be in or near a body of water. But what about if you're in a vehicle? Now, if you're in a car, you want to make sure you remain in the car and don't touch anything that's metal or the windows. The idea is that metal will conduct electricity, and if the car does get struck by lightning, it could be charged. Now, we typically hear the term heat lightning during the summer months. Kind of go into detail, is that a common myth or is that actually a fact?
People tend to associate, oh, it's warm, it's muggy outside, I'm seeing light, that must be heat lightning. Kind of true, but there is always thunder with lightning. You may just not be able to hear the thunder because the storm is so far away.
You can find more by going to our Severe Weather Handbook on pahomepage.com. There are a lot of myths associated with lightning. WBRE 28, WYOU 22 Eyewitness Weather Sammy Squires takes a look at the myths and the facts.
Many ask, can you really not shower or even blow dry your hair during a thunderstorm? Well, actually, you really shouldn't. Plumbing and anything that conducts electricity can be struck and transmitted to you. You should avoid electrical appliances, wires, TV cables, and even computers. Windows should also be avoided. In rare occurrences in older homes, lightning has gone through the cracks of the windows. Homes aren't the only thing that could be affected. Many fear being struck by lightning, but the actual odds of being struck are over 1 in 15,000. While you could survive being struck by lightning, men are almost 4 times more likely to die from a lightning strike than women, with the most common ages being from 20 to 29. While lightning can be very dangerous, in a safe spot you could always sit back and enjoy the show of nature's fireworks.
Cloud watching is always a nice way to pass a summer day, right? But did you ever stop to wonder just how clouds are formed? Here's WBRE 28, WYOU 22 Eyewitness Weather's Logan Westrope with the Cloud Report.
A lot of times, many meteorologists ask, well, exactly how do clouds form in the first place? Well, today we're going to explain that to you, and it all deals with the big thing in the sky, and that is the sun. So what exactly happens during the daytime? That sunlight reaches the surface of the earth and it warms it throughout the day. Now, as we get those warm air parcels to slowly rise, we start to see those rising up to the condensation level, and that's where we have lots of water vapor in the atmosphere. And as the air cools, that's where we see that condensation, hence the condensation level. And what happens there is all that moisture that's squeezed out in those parcels gets squeezed out, and that's how we see those clouds form.
When we return, we know just how quickly some areas around northeastern and central Pennsylvania can flood. We'll take a look back at some more memorable flooding across the region.
Well, Agnes, of course, was at the time the worst natural disaster to hit the United States, according to then-President Richard Nixon.
And we will spend some time with the Luzerne County Emergency Management on the job, keeping an eye on the river and keeping you safe.
You're watching an Eyewitness Weather Special, the Severe Weather Handbook.
Another weather concern during the spring and summer months is heavy rain that can quickly lead to flooding. Some low-lying areas in our region are known to flood quickly, and then there are the times with bigger impacts, like when the Susquehanna River begins to rise. Many will remember Agnes in '72 and 2011 when the river rose again to historic levels, causing evacuations and plenty of damage. WBRE 28, WYOU 22, Andy Mahalchik vividly remembers it all and takes a look back.
They are images that span generations of residents who live in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. Flood waters wreaking havoc, threatening homes and businesses. Many say that our region was changed forever on June 23, 1972, when the Susquehanna River tore through the Wyoming Valley.
Get out now. Get out now.
Most would agree that Tropical Storm Agnes forever changed the way many people would look at the Susquehanna River. David DeCosmo was a television and radio reporter when Agnes ravaged the Wyoming Valley. He also was public information officer for civil defense as that disaster unfolded.
Agnes, of course, was at the time the worst natural disaster to hit the United States, according to then-President Richard Nixon. And the devastation was especially awful because it wiped out an entire downtown city, in addition to many communities, adjacent to that city, Wilkes-Barre.
DeCosmo says the aftermath of Agnes was something he and those who lived through it will never forget.
It was a horrible comeback. People had to dig mud from their basements. People found fish in their basements. I truly think this area could have been, well, dead for good if it weren't for people like Congressman Dan Flood and Frank Carlucci, who was sent here as a personal representative of President Nixon.
DeCosmo believes that Agnes did bring about a new perspective when it came to how people view the Susquehanna River and possible future flooding.
But the fact is, the Agnes flood caused us to put money into our levee system and raise it. And that was a major, major improvement, but it is no guarantee that it won't happen again.
Those improvements took more than 20 years to become a reality. but the levees were raised in a 16-mile area of the Wyoming Valley, all designed to prevent another Agnes-type flood. In September of 2011, the unthinkable came close to becoming a reality when Tropical Storm Lee dumped heavy rain on our region. While much of the Wyoming Valley was spared flooding because of the levee system, many other communities like low-lying areas in West Pittston and Luzerne County where levees do not exist were flooded.
Well, the Wyoming Valley flood protection system is in excellent shape. I mean, a good litmus test was in 2011 where the flood protection system was subjected to stresses greater than what it was designed for, and it performed very, very well.
Eyewitness News talked with Chris Bellman, the executive director of the Luzerne County Flood Protection Authority, and Dominic Iannuzzi, chairman of that authority, about the levee system now and moving forward. They say a variety of factors are contributing to flood concerns in the future.
Well, right now we are experiencing climate change. Because of this, we are seeing more frequent and severe storms, and also there's been more development in the watershed, which makes the runoff get more quickly to the watershed, and so we're seeing increased flood risk in the valley here. Not just in the valley, but in most parts of the United States.
Every storm is different that comes through the Wyoming Valley, as well as in the New York watershed. In 2011, the levee system was tested to its limits, even higher than what the Agnes flood was in 1972.
I saw looks on people's faces that night that I had worked with for 20 years that quite frankly worried me.
40 Fort Mayor Andy Tazinski was the borough's emergency management director in 2011. He remembers some concerns when so-called sand boils developed on the borough side of the levee. Emergency repairs were made, and there was no flooding in 40 Fort.
This levee is top-notch. It's been tested. There were some issues. Those issues were addressed, and 100% satisfied and 100% confident in the ability of this levee to keep not only the residents of 40 Fort safe, but the entire west side.
As mayor, my concern is making sure that the people that live by the river or creeks and streams, that they're protected.
Wilkes-Barre Mayor George Brown says he knows all too well the power of the Susquehanna River.
The Agnes flood, 72. Our family, we lost our home. We had 15 feet on our home. We lost our family business. So myself and several thousands of people that lost everything, we learned to respect the river.
And Mayor Brown says as long as people respect the river, the power of water, proper steps will be taken to prevent future flooding disasters. Reporting in Luzerne County for the Severe Weather Handbook, Andy Bohalchik, 2822 Eyewitness News.
2022 will mark the 50th anniversary of the Agnes flood, and this year is the 10th anniversary of the 2011 flooding across the region. We frequently talk about being proactive when it comes to handling severe weather, but what happens to people's homes and property destroyed by storms? WBRE 28, WYOU 22 eyewitness weather meteorologist Logan Westrope has details.
We hear it all the time, the life-altering tales of property lost during severe weather. It's something that insurance broker Bob Knowles said hasn't always been so locally widespread.
I think a lot is evolving as weather patterns are changing, and now losses are taking place when they hadn't occurred before.
And as more people are impacted by storms, others who haven't been affected find themselves worrying each time they see bad weather in the forecast.
Biggest challenge is that for most people it's a first-time event, and the unknown, the uncertainty creates an awful lot of anxiousness for them.
He says the best way to prevent that anxiousness when it comes to your property is to take an extra step in preparing before storms actually hit.
Our job, first and foremost, before the loss, is to make sure that they have appropriate coverage.
He says you need to be prepared to ask your insurance broker with the right questions, starting with,
am I covered for it? Because that's the ultimate concern that they have. Will there be some reimbursement for my damages that can make me whole?
The next question you need to have on your list, Bob says, is one that you might be asking anyway after a storm.
how does it work and how long will it take.
Finally, he says it's up to your insurance broker to let you know about the risks in your immediate area.
So if somebody's in a floodplain, you need to make them aware of what the likelihood is of that happening and then what the cost would be for them to transfer that risk to an insurance company.
Also, it doesn't hurt to have an inventory of your personal possessions and a rough value so that if a disaster does happen to you, you're one step ahead on the road to recovery.
And don't forget, you can find all of this information in our Severe Weather Handbook by visiting our website, pahomepage.com. While we are here to guide you through a weather event,
everything that we do is for the community. Everything here that we do at EMA is for the community.
Your local EMA is also on the job to keep you safe when the weather gets rough. And we'll check out some of the summertime records. We are talking summer heat a little bit later in your Severe Weather Handbook.
You're watching an Eyewitness Weather Special, the Severe Weather Handbook.
Our local emergency management agencies are always keeping an eye out for dangerous weather situations, from flash flooding to watching the bigger rivers. WBRE 28, WYOU 22, Nicole Rogers spent some time with the Luzerne County EMA to learn more.
We're 100% for our community.
The Luzerne County Emergency Management Agency.
The more they know about us and what we do, the better we could serve them.
They, of course, respond to disasters. For example, flooding. Their main duties revolve around lending a helping hand.
Just the support. We are a support function, so really, it can't really, obviously the power plant's a huge part of it. The hazardous materials, a huge part. The daycares, the nursing homes, the hospitals, all the risk facilities. It's a huge part of it, but overall, it's just a support.
Saving the day falls on the shoulders of Luzerne County EMA Director Lucy Morgan and her three-man team.
I was tasked with doing what they call the planning as far as for nursing homes, daycares, hospitals, any type of a risk facility.
If there's a chemical spill or that, we have to have a way to respond to it and make sure that the facility knows how they're going to respond to it.
And then we do a lot of training and exercises here, so I help conduct the training and exercise program here. Also, I am a radiological response officer for the county, and we support and respond to any emergencies at the nuclear power plant.
Together, they keep Luzerne County prepared in case disaster strikes. They've been there from the start. You may have seen them on the scene of the massive flood from 2011, or the tornado that ripped through Wilkes-Barre Township in 2018, or in the winter when ice jams the river.
We're low right now, but you can see it's going to crest a little bit at 13.7.
Luzerne County EMA is ready to answer the call when any type of disaster strikes. They spend a great deal of time preparing and training for natural disasters and other emergencies. A new command vehicle will make the job much easier.
We can have a conference in here, then go out. We have a awning that goes out off to the side of the vehicle. Then we can meet underneath it, and people can get together and talk under there and disperse their groups, say a police, fire, or EMS. They could have their own little individual meetings and disperse from there.
While they have been on the scene of many natural disasters over the years, Morgan says the team's biggest challenge is the pandemic.
Pandemic being so new, every day it seemed like something changed. Every day, and we were yearning for the information because, we went through H1N1 and we did mass vaccination clinics and it was no problem. This was a totally different animal.
At the end of the day, whether it be an issue on a global scale or just right here in Luzerne County, Morgan and her team vow to be ready whenever a disaster strikes. For the Severe Weather Handbook, Nicole Rogers, 2822, Eyewitness News.
And on a very hot day, the temperature inside your car can go up quickly. And in some cases, it can be deadly. That's just one reason why you must be mindful of a child or a pet in a hot car. WBRE 28, WYOU 22 meteorologist Logan Westrobe shows us the dangers.
Hey, thanks, Josh. You may not always think about how high a temperature inside your car can reach, even if it is a comfortable 80-degree day.
I think the biggest misconception, people think if they crack a window, well, that lets the hot air out, but that doesn't help.
As the temperatures are on the rise as we get closer to summer, so are the concerns about heat safety, from flooding to lightning. to severe thunderstorms. Extreme heat is often one of the leading weather-related killers in the U.S. Even when temperatures are hot outdoors, it's in the vehicles you have to worry about.
The concerns are the children that are left in there and they forgot they had a child with them because of the way the car seats are today and they're turned backwards. Or some people think that you can crack a window and that makes it safer. It doesn't make it safer.
Even on a sunny 80-degree day, the inside of a car can quickly heat up in a matter of minutes. By 20 minutes, the car's interior can reach the mid-90s. By 1 hour, the car's temperature can exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
The same thing goes with pets. Pets can't sweat. So it's the same issue. You can't leave them in.
Chief Delaney shares a previous incident at a local business establishment where a security officer saw a dog having a seizure inside a hot car. He says all the windows were rolled up.
We really had to work to cool that dog down and get that dog to start to drink. But I think that dog is lucky it's alive today.
Chief Delaney also adds to prevent 3 heat-related illnesses, heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke, you want to stay hydrated, wear loose, light clothing, and stay in air-conditioned rooms. He stresses,
absolutely no pet and no child should be left in a car for any reason whatsoever 365 days a year, never mind the summertime with the hot weather.
And it bears repeating, Chief Delaney says just cracking your window inside your car will not help air circulation on any given day. Josh?
All right, Logan, thank you very much. Pardon our interruption. We hear you loud and clear, the complaints and compliments when we interrupt your programming for a severe weather event. We'll explain why. And don't forget to download the Eyewitness News weather app on pahomepage.com.
You're watching an Eyewitness Weather Special, the Severe Weather Handbook.
Welcome back to the Severe Weather Handbook. I'm Jane Ann Bugda, Executive Producer of Special Projects here at Eyewitness News, and I'm along with Chief Meteorologist Josh Odell. And in this segment, we're going to call Pardon Our Interruption, because we're going to talk a little bit about why we interrupt your programming for severe weather and get some answers to some of our viewer questions. Now,
okay,
Josh,
I'm ready.
You're ready? We
yes.
get a lot of compliments for our coverage, but then we do get a few complaints.
Sometimes we do, yes.
So one of the biggest questions that our viewers always have are, why do we interrupt programming for severe weather?
Well, when you get into a tornado warning situation, it is an immediate life-threatening situation, and our job is safety. We are here to keep you and your family safe. So a tornado can happen in minutes. And when that situation arises, we break into programming and we let you know about this immediate life-threatening situation. Compare it to a snowstorm. You know a snowstorm is coming days in advance. It's not going to immediately happen. But a tornado warning does. It can happen in minutes. It can happen in seconds.
So we have state-of-the-art technology. We can track on our cell phones. Why do we interrupt everyone's programming? So if there's a severe weather impacting, say, Lycoming County, why not just interrupt their programming?
Unfortunately, broadcast television is not designed that way just yet, like your cell phone or your tablet. We don't have that ability to geo-target, so we just can't break into the Williamsport area and let the regular programming go in places like Wilkes-Barre and Scranton. Broadcast is not there. The technology is just not as advanced as your cell phone.
And one of the biggest questions we receive from our viewers, plan their day around their favorite TV show, sit down to watch it, and there's a severe weather event, and we interrupt programming. They missed that episode. Why don't we rerun it or play it at a later date?
Unfortunately, that's sometimes out of our control. There's contractual language between us and our broadcast networks, and we're not always allowed to re-air a show that was in an original time slot. So that gets down to some contractual language that is usually out of our control. If we can, we will. But that's not always the case.
So the bottom line, Josh, is that our weather team is here for our viewers' safety.
Exactly. That's it. Your safety.
So Josh, thank you, and we hope we answered some of our viewers' questions today.
And hey, thanks for coming on the show with us.
I enjoyed being here.
Make it a regular appearance.
I'd love to.
All right, Jane, we'll wrap up our severe weather handbook with some final words after the break. And if you missed any of our program, you can find it on pahomepage.com.
You're watching an Eyewitness Weather Special, the Severe Weather Handbook.
As warmer weather sets in, severe weather can hit at any time, including violent thunderstorms. But there's a lot more to them than loud cracks of thunder and heavy rain. Here's WBRE WYOU meteorologist Logan Westrope with the life cycle of a thunderstorm.
Let's talk about the formation of a thunderstorm and oftentimes the life cycle that we see during the spring and summer months. So obviously it starts with the sunshine. We need that. That's the key factor to get those clouds to form. When that sunshine heats the surface of the earth, that warm rising air rises to the condensation level, and that's where we start to see those clouds forming. And that's when we often see cumulus clouds at least forming at this stage in the game. Now we need those clouds to continue to rise. We need two things. We need an updraft and also a downdraft. That updraft is that warm, moist air that continues to rise into the clouds. That often helps to keep those clouds growing, and you often hear the name cumulonimbus cloud. Those clouds deepen in this stage of the game. But also we're talking about the downdraft. So what goes up must come down, and that is the downdraft. So with that, that's that descending air that spreads out, that oftentimes creates some damaging winds here at the surface that we often hear of damage reports. And this is oftentimes a dissipating stage of a thunderstorm. We don't get that warm, moist air rising. We see that downdraft becoming more dominant, and this helps to dissipate a thunderstorm.
And just in case you missed some of this or would like to get a little more information, don't forget you can find everything we've shared with you on our Severe Weather Handbook page, and that is on pahomepage.com. Not all summers are created equally. Some are wonderful. Sunny and hot, raises hand because that's what I enjoy.
Yep.
And others are kind of wet and cold. Sammy is here to take a look at some record-breaking summers. I like these numbers. These are good to me.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it's a game here. How warm we get in the middle of summer. Usually July, August. That's when we tend to see these warmest numbers.
All right, let's see what we have here. So up first is going to be kind of the official number.
Yeah, this is the official record that was taken at the airport. It's 101, which was July 16th, 1988.
And just to give you a little bit of background on this, we have these official observation stations around the area, and that's where the official measurements are taken, the temperatures, the rainfall amounts. So this one happens to be at the Wilkes-Barre Scranton International Airport. 101 is pretty good. I remember 1988. It was a hot summer.
I do not.
These two were not even born yet, so that's why they don't remember that. But yes,
I
remember sitting in a pool and enjoying the day. All right, so what's the next one? This is the non-official location.
Yeah, so if we widen the region a little bit and go to northeastern Pennsylvania, Prompton is the warmest in our area, 107. That was July 28th in 1973. 107 is,
still
that's
like
hot.
I still like that. That was pretty good, too. It's actually kind of hard to get those kind of numbers, especially in this part of the world with some of the humidity. That can be a little intense, but, I'll take it. What will this summer bring? We hope sunny days and pleasant nights, but just in case the weather turns, we are here to keep you safe.
And hopefully we help you understand how we forecast and how we interpret our weather information.
And our forecasts are always available on air and online at pahomepage.com.
And no matter what the weather, we are here to keep you informed about what to expect as you travel across northeastern and central Pennsylvania.
We hope we gave you at least a little insight into summer forecasting and its challenges. Remember, download the Eyewitness Weather app and stay on top of everything that's changing in our weather. For the entire Eyewitness News weather team, I'm Josh Hodell. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.